Alright, good evening, Earth. This is Adam Sturch broadcasting from the Mushroom Mansion, Taos, New Mexico, working on oil painting a butterfly. Alright, today I'm going to focus in on the foreground stones with some Naples yellow and a touch of brilliant red. And a little bit of liquid for smoothness.
The proper response to your question would be, I understand where you're coming from, but this is not the place for me to address that issue. That's what I should have said. Okay?
Actually, since I'm going to do the foreground stones, I think I'm going to zoom in on it. Put it about
Nothing
right there.
you said
That's
explains my own emotional reaction. That's still be my own responsibility. Okay? Alright. Now, this exercise, in terms of when you don't say no, that's the first part. You can do it once a week. Where this week did I not say no? Where does a no that wanted to be said and I didn't say it? Just write it down. Second question.
Okay.
What is the impact of my not saying no? So if you actually look at the impact, fatigue, sleeplessness, resentment, worse, all kinds of physical symptoms, what's the impact? Self-criticism, shame, that's the impact. The third question is, what is the belief behind my inability to say no? If I say no, then they won't like me. Remember what I said about attachment versus authenticity? They won't like me. Or if I say no, I'm selfish. If I say no, I'm letting down my responsibilities. That's important, because once you look at the belief, you can actually question it. Is it really true? Does me saying no actually make me selfish? If I've been working all night, and you call me up to have a cup of coffee in the morning with you, and I said no, am I really being selfish if I say no to you? So that's the third question is, no, the fourth question is, where did I learn that belief? Well, you know where you learned it. You learned it in childhood. Fifth question is, who would I be if I didn't believe that? If I didn't believe that if I say no, that makes me a bad person, who would I be? And the last question is, where am I not saying yes? Where is there a yes in my life that I want to express, that I want to manifest, that I want to live, but I'm not doing it because I'm too busy not saying no to all the other stuff? So those two little words, yes and no, make all the difference in your life. That's just a little exercise you can do or teach your clients if you want to. It really does change things very quickly. All right, questions? John, if you run the mic around.
Yeah. Just take one.
As a social worker, I'm curious about ways to change our system, and I feel like you probably have a lot more experience with this than me. How would we start to advocate for this to be taught to physicians on that level, for like call it for PhD level, or how would we advocate for change within our system?
Well, look, so first of all, the change is happening. I mean, Harvard University now has this little mind-body institute, you know? That's good. Harvard University should be a mind-body institute, but at least they have something. More and more doctors are reaching out beyond traditional medicine to functional medicine, integrated medicine, and all this. These conferences that people are coming at to hear about trauma from people like Amy and Nadine and Bessel and myself and others, this wouldn't happen 10, 15 years ago. This itself is a sign of change. So I don't beat my head against walls trying to convince people of anything. I just think we should all just speak our truth at whatever platform we have, on whatever issue, whether it be political or personal. personal or therapeutic or professional, and trust that there's a need for this in the world, and the world will respond, which it is. I mean, look, the first time I gave a public talk after my first book got published, 25 years ago now, there were 6 people there, and 2 of them were my childhood friends. So, you know, just keep doing your thing is what I'm saying. But don't worry too much about trying to change institutions. Let natural erosion and evolution do that. Okay? Questions?
So we're going to take one from the web here. Alexandra asks if you can speak to the importance of language in our work, and do you encourage people to use mind-body terminology regularly? Why or why not?
It's not that I encourage people to use any kind of language. It's that I notice what kind of language they use. Because when somebody's talking to you, they're giving you a narrative, which is the thought content, but then there's the words they use to express the thought content. Those words are always meaningful. So I you know, if I was working with somebody therapeutically, I'd pay a lot of attention to the language, to their verbal language, also to the tone of their voice. It's quite extraordinary because sometimes, just to give you one example, very mature and confident and competent women can sound like a 5-year-old little girl when they go back to that vulnerable, hurt little self. And then you notice that. You notice that. Let me tell you an amazing story. I had a person once who was diagnosed with what was then called multiple personality disorder. Now it's called dissociative identity disorder. So it was trauma-based. She split herself into all these personalities. One of her personas was that of an 8-year-old little boy. And she had asthma. So I prescribed for her a medication called theophylline. Theophylline is a liquid that you drink that keeps the airways from narrowing. So one day, the 8-year-old boy calls me. He's having tremors and he's got nauseated, he's got diarrhea. These are typical symptoms of theophylline overdose. When this person was in an 8-year-old body, they had the physiology of an 8-year-old. Now, I thought I was seeing things. It's been described in the medical literature. People are in different personas with different EEGs. They'll have different responses to skin stimulation. I'm talking about the mind-body unity. And to go back to this question, a person's voice tells you so much about where they're coming from. So whatever you do, don't just pay attention to people's narrative. You don't get lost in the narrative. Pay much more attention to the language they use, to their body language, to the tone of their voice, and address them. Much more important than just dealing with the narrative. That's my answer to that question. Yeah?
Hi, yes, my question is, to what level do you assert your authenticity as a person who is working to recover that? And how much do you just give an emotionally immature person less access to you if they cannot accept that vulnerability with safety?
Well, wait a minute. So let's start with the first question, okay? Repeat the first question again.
To what level do you assert your authenticity as a person who is recovering authenticity?
To what level do you what?
Assert your own...
Assert your own. Who wants to know?
Me? I could lie and say my clients, but I want to know.
Okay, you want to know, all right? So you're asking to what degree do you assert your authenticity?
When surrounded by unsafe people.
Mm-hmm.
work on giving those people less access to myself,
Okay?
but I'm curious what your thoughts are on that approach.
Well, look, now partly it's situational. If I had 6 cops with their guns pointed at me, my first priority would not be to assert my authenticity. But barring that extreme situation, you have a decision to make. You can have 2 kinds of pain. The pain of self-suppression and pretense and self-denial, or the pain of not being liked by some other people. Attachment versus authenticity. I can't tell you what to choose. You have to decide. There might not be a pain-free option. And sometimes the best you can do, no, if you can have authenticity and attachment, great. If you have friends who can accept your authentic manifestation and say, oh, great, well, that's good. But if some people in your life can't handle it because they're not ready for it, and that's not what they bought in for when they established a relationship with you, then you have a choice to make. Which pain would I rather have? The pain of self-suppression or the pain of perhaps being rejected? Your call. But there may not be a pain-free option. Okay? At least not in the short term.
Thank you.
Alright? Does that answer? Thank you.
Okay, one from the web. Tiffany, let's see, okay. Tiffany shares, she says she's on board with most of this for most of her clients,
Yeah.
but the mothers that she's worked with who's lost, their children have died by suicide or homicide,
Yeah.
trauma plus grief plus injustice entwined, it feels intolerable to them, and she says, who am I to say that it is not?
What feels intolerable to them?
Just the trauma and grief, the enormity of it all, I think is what she said.
It is intolerable. It's too much. It's not what any human beings should have to deal with. But I don't understand the question, because this is what it goes back to what I said. You have to be able to be with people's pain. You have to be able to be with people's pain. I worked with people recently who lost entire families. And I have to be with their pain. And so, what I would say to the questioner is, if you're not able to be with the pain of these mothers who've so tragically lost their beloved children, for whom they would have given their lives if they could, if you can't be with their pain, then recognize your limitation. Or do the work that'll help you be with their pain and stay compassionate and still believe in life. Maybe you can achieve that stage. If you can, you'll be able to be with the pain of these women. If you can't, you might not be the person to help them. Okay?
Hi, I was wondering if you ever struggle finding the feeling of hope in the work that you do.
Can you just wave your hand? So
Oh, right here.
Oh, yeah, okay, hi, yeah. Yeah, go ahead, yeah.
I was just wondering if you ever struggle with finding the feeling of hope or remaining hopeful doing this work.
I don't deal in hope at all. Okay, and you might say I'm hopeless. Okay? Because hope is for something to happen in the future. I don't go there. I don't know what's going to happen in the future. when I look at some situations, I just see things getting worse in the short term. That's my best assessment. But I deal in possibility. My question is, what is possible for people? So when I see somebody like Howard, or in another context, when I see people who are supposed to be enemies actually embracing each other and supporting each other, which I've also seen recently, I see human possibility. And that possibility is in the present moment. So I just believe in possibility. I believe in human possibility. And if I didn't, we all do. You all believe in possibility. You all believe it's possible for people to transform, to learn, to change, to let go of hatred, to let go of judgment, to find their common humanity with each other, to find their own humanity. That's not a hope of something happening in the future. That's a possibility that exists in the present moment. So it's that possibility that keeps me going, not any hope for the future. Yeah.
Hello, can you hear me?
Hi.
Amazing, hi. So this morning, you shared something that really resonated with me. You mentioned how you wet the bed until you're about age 13, and that just, again, I could relate a lot to that, and I was just wondering, it's something that kind of filled me with deep, deep shame, and I really just disconnected completely from my body for years. And
Shame, you said?
shame, yeah.
Are you willing to come up here?
Oh boy, sure. Thanks.
All right. Thank you.
Hello.
Hi, what's your name?
Emily,
Nice to meet you. Hi.
nice to meet you.
So you were talking about shame. What about shame?
Yes, so I'm wondering if you had similar feelings with shame with that, just the like loss of sensation over your body and just it being such a vulnerable thing to happen to you and for it to be happening like later in life, later than normal. And I never connected it to a,
Slow down a sec.
yeah, I'm nervous.
Okay. What are you experiencing right now?
Activation,
Yeah, what else?
sweating,
Okay.
nervousness,
Okay. All right.
hot.
What about in your body, in your chest?
My heart is beating very, very fast. My shoulders are up here.
Okay. Is there some fear for you?
Yes.
What's the fear?
The fear is that I'm going to embarrass myself or stutter.
And embarrass yourself meaning what?
Sharing something too vulnerable or that I think isn't going to be beneficial for others and only beneficial for me.
Okay, so there's a couple of things here, okay? First of all, if in this room of I don't know how many hundred people, you saw somebody else come up on stage and share as you have shared, what would you think of them?
And they were really brave.
Uh-huh.
Alright, so that gets a good layer of stone detail beginning to happen, a little shadow on the figure as well. I think that's it for the moment. I'll let that set solid and then argue whether or not I want to reglaze the entire thing again and then do that again. I may, but at least the butterfly needs to be done some more, and the rocks need much more detail either way. If I continue layering glazes or not, then the water as well, so this one's going to take a few minutes.
How are you feeling at the moment?
But that's it for this session. Have a good night, Earth. That's Adam Sturch podcasting from the Mushroom Mansion Taos, New Mexico, working on oil painting Butterfly.
I'm feeling conflicted.
Which means?